Definitely use the sign-up sheet. I'm going to go around to you individually and speak with you. I apologize if I haven't had a chance to introduce myself yet. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming. After the moment of silence, which is going to last for 60 seconds, I would like, if some of you have any stories or personal histories that you guys would like to share, please feel free. This is what we're here for. We're coming together as one, as a community, solidarity. And we'd like to know what's been going on. So definitely please make your voices heard. Utilize the sign-up sheet. I have cardboard if you want to make signs. We're going to do this together, guys. So thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering, like, why this issue speaks to you and why you felt the need to organize this gathering today.
This National Moment of Silence was actually originated by Feminista Jones. She's a blogger on Twitter. As we were speaking back and forth, everyone was focused on Ferguson, and she felt that we should have a National Moment of Silence to honor those victims that, have died due to police brutality. She reached out to different people and said, what can you do in your city? And I was so enraged and upset about what I was seeing in Ferguson. I said, you know what, we're going to handle this here in Rochester. And that's actually how it all started. I created a Facebook page, I passed it around, word of mouth, and this is completely amazing.
Yeah, it's a great turnout.
It is, it's excellent. It was more than I could have ever asked for.
What's next? You were talking about like possibly upcoming meetings, new directions. Like where are you seeing this going?
Well, Feminista Jones wanted us to, again, with the sign-up sheet, we wanted to collect people's names and address. We do want to have further meeting because this vigil really is just a foundation. We'd like to build on that, and we'd like to have maybe more community meetings where we can, affect change on a local level and then maybe on a national level.
What are your thoughts on like the militarization of the police and the daily clashes with protesters and police in Ferguson? Do you have any comments about that?
It was very, very frustrating to watch, especially when the protesters they were having events like this and really trying to come together as one, being very, very as a community and being shut down. So it was really frustrating, and that made it even more important for us to do this, not only for them, for others that are being shut down. So I'm glad that people were able to turn out so that we can show our support to those in Ferguson.
I actually was compelled to come out and support my sister. It was her drive, her initiative, her motive, and so I had to love and support her. And seeing, like I said, police brutality and oppression firsthand, I know what it's like.
Yeah.
But also I think that we have to sometimes take a step back and look at things from a wider perspective to understand why certain things are taking place.
And have you seen the videos and stuff out of Ferguson? Like, do you have any thoughts about the clashes going on with people trying to just organize and get together and the police trying to break it up, it seems like?
I have seen certain videos from Ferguson, and to me, having grown up with parents who were always against social injustice, I've seen to see Ferguson, it's like seeing Detroit, it's like seeing Atlanta, it's like seeing Philadelphia, it's like seeing Los Angeles. It's a thorn, it's a pain, it hurts.
Yeah.
And prayers go out. I believe, yes, we should organize, but in organizing, does that curb actual police brutality and oppression?
So like finding effective means to do that work is really the important part of the equation.
Yes.
Kind of interesting.
K-A-E-L-Y is yellow, and Rich, R-I-C-H. I'm the director of the Genesee Valley chapter of the New York Civil Liberties Union.
So talk to me a little bit about what you guys are.
So I'm here today as an individual to support the victims whose lives have been taken by the police that are meant to serve and protect them. And I'm also here because we're concerned about the over-militarization of our nation's police forces. Literally billions of dollars have gone into the weaponry that we saw on video last night, what happened in Ferguson, Missouri. Things like MRAS, that big tank that you saw, are literally being funded by our tax dollars for absolutely no reason. These are people that are supposed to be patrolling our neighborhoods, keeping our neighborhoods safe, but in fact, they are treating our citizens as enemies.
And for those that say, that happened in Missouri, it didn't happen here, why should I care?
It's actually something that's happening nationwide. What we saw last night was one example of something that we actually recently released a report about because it's happening so frequently. Literally hundreds of documented incidents of police using excessive military equipment to deal with regular everyday citizens. In fact, 80% of SWAT deployments from 2001 to 2012 were for the serving of warrants.
That's a crazy statistic.
It's a crazy statistic.
So what do you hope, as an individual comes from today's vigil?
I hope that as an individual we can come together to find some peace and to talk about solutions to this issue. We have to come together as a community and talk about how we reform the system and how we support each other in dealing with the trauma of this kind of police misconduct.
What makes it a crime, what makes it such a grievous crime, is to just add salt to the wound by just impounding multiple bullets into somebody who, as stories say, his hands were raised above his head in surrender. This is just one more version, one more story in the book of stories of this impending militarized police force, militarized nation, and it's oppressive to the people. And there comes a point where we become so indoctrinated to what we see in magazines and movies, and we hear on TV, and we hear on the radio, and we think that we can go to sleep and that we're safe and that we're in a free country and that we're being protected. But the point is that as an individual, it's a responsibility, not a right, it's not an obligation, it's a responsibility to reach up for your rights, to take your rights, because your rights are inalienable, and your rights aren't given to you by a police force, they're not given to you by the government, they're not given to you by a piece of paper. You own your rights because you're an autonomous human being, and why the reason I came here today, long-winded as that is that I want to help show other people, I want to help bring people out here. I've called a couple people who have come to the rally today. It's important to know that your rights are not going to sustain themselves. They're going to come from you actively seeking them, actively fighting for them. And fighting doesn't always mean violence, but it means showing up. It means voicing yourself to the cause. And that's why I came here today, because I want to make sure that people know that there are people fighting for it. But it takes more than a group of 30, 50 people. It takes more than a nation. It takes everybody, regardless of race, regardless of sex, regardless of creed. It takes everybody to come here. And so I want to be one of those everybody that comes here and works it out. Solidarity is not a one-time thing. It's not a once-a-year gathering. Solidarity is one of the focus points of all of our lives. So I hope that in the future we can compound this, we can get more and more people until our voice is finally making the difference that we all want it to make.
I was excited to see that Rochester was holding something that was kind of paying respect and bringing people together to something that is a really national problem and clearly a problem that we face here. And for me, it brings so much hope and comfort to see that people like me care about what's going on and are conscious and aware of some of the problems that we face, so that we can try to move forward and to kind of a better reality. And so I think it was just kind of this positive love environment that we should see more often, and that I was really excited about seeing it here and to be part of it, because watching everything last night, kind of what was going on, it made me, kind of feel sad that I just kind of had to idly watch what was happening. And so it feels good to kind of play some role, to be with people and kind of send our energy to something positive.
Well, my friend Carolyn told me about it, and I'm just really passionate about people coming together and fighting together, because we need more of it. I feel like I'm really adamant about supporting anti-racism, anti-brutality, and I feel like a lot of other people just kind of overlook it, because so much is happening that I feel like some people are kind of it's just going to keep happening, so what can we do? But to see other people around and the community of people uniting and working together to make a change, that's why I came. Because I need to be part of that. I want to be part of it.
Is take them at 7:20, so what I'd like to do is take 60 seconds as a moment of silence to honor those that have lost their lives towards police brutality and police shootings. So at this time, we're going to take our 60-second moment of silence. Thank you so much for taking that moment of silence. What I'd like to do is open up the floor, so to speak, for anyone who would like to share any stories, anyone who's lost any loved ones, anyone who would like to speak about their experiences with police brutality, any ideas anyone would have. I'd like to really open the floor. This is a community event, so please, I'd like you guys to come up and share what you think we can do, what your experiences are, what you hope to get out of this experience, and where would you like it to go. So I'm going to open the floor. Please feel free.
My name is Vanessa Bassel, and I just wanted to say I appreciate the diversity that we have here today, because Mike Brown wasn't just a black kid in America. He was an American child. He was a teenager, and he was somebody whose life had not even begun yet. And the fact that other people who may not look like him, who may not be his age, who may not be from St. Louis, are here to support the fact that his life had not begun shows that when we come together, things can happen. It's not just about one type of child so that someone else can turn their back and say, well, it wasn't my child, so that's okay. No, it was all of our child. It was all of our brother. It was all of our son. And so it just means everything to me that you all are here. Those people who aren't here that are still honoring him in their hearts, honoring Trayvon in our hearts, honoring so many people nameless in our hearts, it just means the world to me. So I wanted to thank you for your courage today, and I wanted to thank you for your love and support and your activism and advocacy, and I hope that after right now, this continues for all of our children, those that are here and those that have not even been thought of. So thank you.
And I'm here with some other people, members of the lesbian and gay community in Rochester. And the reason we're here is to show solidarity and to show that once a year we hear about the connections between Stonewall and Selma, and we're here as members of the community to show our support and respect, and that's why we're here.
I've been listening to the news for a long time, and like I've been seeing all of this stuff happening, like the police brutality, all of the stuff going around the world, and all of it's so much, like the weight of it is so much. I go onto Facebook, I can't even go onto Facebook sometimes because it's like, you got another black man shot over here, you got another Palestinian shot over here, you got another incarcerated trans woman getting all kinds of terrible things happening to her. And like, I'm reading and I'm watching all of this stuff happen. And you know what gives me hope? Today I went on my Facebook feed, you know what I saw? A woman from Gaza tweeting to protesters in Ferguson how to deal with tear gas. How to deal with tear gas. That's solidarity. That's why I'm here. That's why we're all here. That is solidarity, because when it goes down, when the shit goes down, we gotta all be here. We gotta know how to deal with this.
I really wanted to say something, but I didn't want to offend any police officers because they're doing a really, really difficult job. But I feel sorry for them. I would be ashamed to do their work, and I don't know how to explain it. My brother-in-law's a police officer. My nephew's a police officer. I know a lot of police officers. But when I've been stopped so many times, it's just sick. And to hear that somebody died over this, innocent blood, really. I just gotta tell you one thing. I know what it's like to look at a barrel of a police officer on your knees and he's staring at you with his gun. And I turn around, I said to him, go ahead and kill me because I can't take it anymore. And he didn't shoot. But that should not happen to anybody. I tremble when I see policemen. Let me tell you, I tremble. I shake to my core. I can't stand it. I'm traumatized by them. Sorry about that.
Woo! Hello everyone. I'm sure like every one of you, we're tired of this story. Again, it's an old story. We're all here because we're tired of it. And we have to look forward. We can't look away. No matter who you are, you have to look at it and do what you can. That's why we're here.
Woo!
One of the most shocking things I've read in all the stuff that's been going around is this fact. Every 28 hours in this country, a black male is killed by the cops or a security officer or a self-appointed vigilante every 28 hours. That has got to stop. But I'm also here to talk to my white brothers and sisters. It's not just a black issue. 35 years ago, my son was beaten by the Rochester City Police Department. He was held in jail overnight. We had no idea where he was. He was not allowed to call. And it was for nothing. He had done nothing. So, in fact, when we went to our friend, the photographer, because the lawyer said get him photographed to show how bruised he is, our photographer was African American and said, what, they couldn't see he was white? So it can happen. It can happen. And that led to me working with Reverend Franklin Florence and others to get a civilian review board, which we did. We were successful, but little by little the power was taken away. It never had subpoena power, which is a necessary part, but it was certainly better than what they have now. So this doesn't stop, it's not new, and it threatens every one of our children, especially the males. So we've got to do something about this. It's got to be stopped. We have to send a message to the RPD that we will not be Ferguson.
Yeah.
Woo!
Hello everyone, I'm Brian Irway. I'm with the International Socialist Organization. I spent a lot longer than I care to remember in this very park for Occupy Rochester a couple of years ago. And as people have mentioned, this is a cycle we've gone through too many times. This is something we see again and again, simply because the way that the police are set up, more and more militarized and more lethal and willing to use lethal force at the least possible reason. And secondly, because racism does permeate our society. It does disfigure everything about everything in it, but especially how the cops and the courts and everything work like that. And so that has to be a constant demand of ours. And the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of people, a lot of white people, who hate racism and want to uproot it and want to fight against it. And so building a multiracial movement against racism, against the racist abuse of the cops, because it's built into the power that they wield, you know, that's the road that we have to fight on. Folks like Enough is Enough have been doing it for a year and more around Benny Warr's case and others. We have to continue to build that organizing capability, that ability to bring everybody together in the face of these outrages, because they're going to be more, and we know it. There's been a national call put out by groups on the ground in St. Louis, around the Ferguson area, for solidarity actions on Saturday at 1 p.m., which will be the time of day that Mike Brown was killed. And so I think we should do that here in Rochester. And I invite folks to stick around afterwards, and we can talk about how we can put this together on pretty short notice, but I think we need to take this up and continue the work, continue the organizing. And I would suggest that although Washington Square Park is near and dear to my heart, more effective might be to meet down at the Liberty Pole, because Main Street has a lot of traffic, but if we have enough people, it might be necessary to stop. So, let's talk about organizing more. Let's go forward from this outrage and consider how we're going to take the spirit that's boiling over in Ferguson and put it to good use here in Rochester. Thanks to everybody for coming out.
Thank you guys so much for coming out, and for those of you that shared your stories, thank you so much. That means a lot. What I'd like to take this time to do before we close, because please understand this is a vigil. We do want to honor those that have lost their lives. This is my brother, AJ. Thank you for coming out. I'd like to offer a little prayer just to honor those that have lost their lives, and I've asked my brother, who is ordained, to lead us in a prayer before we close tonight.
First of all, I thank everyone who has come out, everyone in their respective places. I thank God for putting this on my sister's heart. I'm actually surprised because she's usually very shy and very timid, and I'm the one that does all the hoorah. So I thank God that this was placed in your heart, and I know that the fire will continue. I acknowledge to all the victims of police brutality, to all those who have died. It is a sad thing. I have lived in one of the most impoverished neighborhoods for the last 10 years. I've lived on Avenue C for the last 10 years. I've watched the police harass our drug dealers, our innocent, even myself. But also in defense, and I acknowledge there's too many of us black men that are not doing what we are supposed to do, that makes it hard for the innocent. It is too many of us not in our respective places, not handling our households, not trying to be productive citizens of society, that makes it hard for the innocent. There is an accountability for the black man. It is not just a white harassment brutality issue. I have watched the police harass many of white people who have come through my neighborhood to buy drugs. I have watched them rough them up. I have watched them shake them down. Police brutality does not discriminate. On that note, I thank all y'all once again for coming. I'm just gonna ask and pray that we keep the solidarity going, that we keep the fight going, and not just to remember those that have died at the hands of police brutality, but at the hands of all kinds of violence. And we stand up towards it, we speak out against it, we unite, and we continue to move forward as the higher power would allow us to. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you. First of all, we thank you for those that are gathered. You said as long as two appear, you will show up in the midst. And we thank you for the numbers that have come. Those who've come different races, different walks, different ways of life, but yet they came for a purpose and a cause that touched their heart. and we thank you. We ask that you continue to keep us together, continue to keep us unified, continue to keep us going forward, and keep your hand upon us. All these things we ask in your name. Amen. Go in peace and love.
Is there any message you want to give to Mike Brown's family?
I have never been through anything like that. There is probably nothing I could say that would change what happened or what they're going through, but we want to show Mike Brown's family that we are behind you. We may not be there with you, but we are there with you in spirit, and we're going to do everything we can in our power to see that things do change from here on forward.
To the family of Mike Brown, I keep y'all in my prayers. Earth has no sorrow, let heaven come out and heal. To the community of Ferguson, please pray first before acting. Please stop and think of loved ones first. Not all police are bad police, and not all black men are bad black men.
You know, I can't even imagine the loss that they've suffered, and first and foremost, everybody's condolences, not just mine, everybody's condolences come out to whoever falls for whatever reason. Nobody wants to suffer the loss of a loved one, especially in such just a terrible manner as what happened to Mike Brown's family. And I heartfelt want to tell them that we all stand behind them in this. We feel their pain, though not as deep, we feel their pain and we stand behind them.
I guess just to send my love and support and to know that this is a problem that I personally won't let go undiscussed and forgotten because it's a really big issue. Institutionalized racism has been here, it's deep rooted. Race is a huge part of our society, and there's so much happening that kind of says, oh, it's not here anymore, or colorblind, and it's so evident when these horrific scenarios happen. And I just hope that they know that this support is not something that will leave tomorrow or in a week or in a month. Because I think, it's a sad story that's kind of been continually happening, but I don't know. So I'm so sorry that it happened. And that, I just think we're gonna keep fighting for justice.
I send my love, and I just pray that Mike got to his next journey in his soul happening safely, and that we are here for you, and we are going to stand by you, and we're